Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. Hope you're at peace today on this fine Memorial Day here. The video that I'm posting is actually about water quality today, and just wanted to touch base on it. So here in my neck of the woods, in this beautiful land of ours, arsenic is a naturally occurring contaminant that exists in the geology. It's just another metal. You know, it's very similar. If you're familiar with arsenic and its makeup, it's very similar to iron, albeit bodies can use iron. Iron at most, levels are not necessarily, I should say, it often at the levels that we find it at is not toxic. But arsenic is. Our body doesn't have any use for it. It builds up in the body, and our body has a really difficult time getting rid of it. And once it gets high enough levels, it can be a real issue. Kidneys, liver, prolonged exposure, chronic exposure leads to, I think it's the hardening of the blood vessels, hypertension, a lot of nasty stuff, man. So I'm an advocate for no arsenic in the water at all. There's a lot of different methods when it comes to removing arsenic from water, and I'm going to touch on 3 of them here right now. One, a long-term play for arsenic that's also really valuable when you're dealing with higher levels is and as long as you have iron in the water, you can oxidize iron and put it through a chemical reaction where then you will also, having oxidized the iron from iron 3 to iron 5, the arsenic will then have a high likelihood of actually bonding to that iron. Iron is really easy to remove in comparison to arsenic, and so in this situation you end up having some chemical injection, some catalytic type media like green sand that's going to pull the iron out. And most engineered specs that I've worked on, they won't guarantee you non-detectable, but they will guarantee that it will bring the arsenic level to below the MCL, or maximum contaminant level, which is set forth by the EPA, and that's 10 parts per billion. So that's one method to do it. The pros and cons of that are, one, on the front end, the service costs are relatively low, and it's a long enduring system. The con on that end is you have to be vigilant on it quite often. You always have to make sure that your chlorine is at the right level, that your arsenic and your iron levels are correct. So it takes a lot of vigilance and on-site testing. I'm sorry about the shaky cam, guys. So another one, the next one, is just an outright catalytic media. A media that I use, I'm actually a big fan of, is AdEdge. AdEdge media, there's certain parameters that you want the water to have when it's going through this. You don't want the water to be acidic. You do need a certain range of iron in the water. But in my experience, AdEdge will take out both. There's 2 forms of arsenic that can be really difficult. One can be really difficult to remove, and I'm spaced now exactly what the 2 different types are. But the AdEdge, or arsenic removal media, is great, and as long as I meet those prerequisites, those precursors for the water's quality, I've had all systems that I've installed with AdEdge come back with non-detectable. There's no traces of arsenic in the drinking water going into the home after the filter. Now, that is not a guarantee that they make, and that is not something that maybe will uphold forever, but off the cuff, even in levels where I'm seeing it at 30 to 50 part per million, part per billion, we'll see it clear everything out. It's also a great polishing filter after the aforementioned filter system with the chemical injection and everything, in case you're still getting traces of it through where the arsenic is just so high and the iron level isn't quite high enough to remove it. Yeah, AdEdge is just a great media. There's a lot of resources for them, and like I said, they're kind of my go-to. And then lastly, you have reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis is relatively common anymore. You can get RO systems from DIY, like big box stores. You can get arsenic systems from installers like myself, other contractors that specialize in water treatment. they're great. They'll pretty much take everything out. You know, I haven't had any arsenic systems any reverse osmosis systems that I've put in where arsenic was able to leach through. Now, the pros and cons of that one. The pro is that you're purifying the water, right? So you're pretty much taking everything out. Now, again, and I do apologize, I wasn't prepared for the topic as well as I should have been, but there are two forms of arsenic. One form is really easy to remove, the other one isn't. That trickier one that's a bit more difficult to remove oftentimes will seep through the membranes of RO systems. So again, you just got to do a pre and post filtration or sample to see what's getting through and if it's getting through at dangerous levels, and what you could do about it. Again, the pros and cons. The pros, it's purifying everything. It's really simple, straightforward. Water goes in, water goes out. It's just a matter of sizing that kind of a system. The cons, they can get pretty expensive to maintain and service. On the low end, if you're like, you know, in the systems that I work on, if you're just a point of use at the kitchen sink kind of a situation, you'll be at, you know, $350, $450 annually every 12 to 16 months between the service and then the replacement of the membrane and then the associated filters that go along with that. And that's just for a point of use, you know, 18 to 30 gallons a day. It filters essentially at a drip. Now, if you're a whole house RO system, I don't do a lot of those. I've done a handful of them, but when it comes to the membranes, you could easily be at $1,200 for a membrane. The service costs and fees, again, we don't really get into that. That's not our ballpark. What we do, we usually pass that along to other people that do that more on the regular. But the service costs can be quite high. And again, now you're also dealing with, if you've got RO, you have rejection water. So let's say out of every 10 gallons that you're gonna make, you're gonna waste 2. So you've got to deal with that depending on the concentrations of the contaminants in the water. So it definitely goes into a lot more planning and thoughtfulness than just your straightforward filtration in and out. So that's it for today, guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us through our website at totalwells.com. Yeah, arsenic is not good. Don't drink it. Don't mess around with it. If you've got levels of it in your water that are low, below the MCL, I highly recommend doing annual testing, even between seasons, to make sure that you're not getting any fluctuations where it's peaking and then dropping down. Inevitably, if that was the case, you and your family may be ingesting arsenic for years, which would be a terrible thing to go undealt with. So, all right, God bless, guys. I hope everyone's having a peaceful and thoughtful Memorial Day today, and we'll be in touch. More content, more videos coming out. All right, take care. Bye.